7 people walked into that room. Only 6 had entered. But we'll get to that. Before this building became a ruin, before the walls started peeling, and the hallways filled with silence, it was alive in the worst possible way. For over a century, this place operated as both an asylum and an infirmary in rural Indiana. The mentally ill and the physically dying kept under the same roof, sharing the same neglect. The rumors were always there. Patients malnourished, mistreated, ignored. People who came here didn't come to get better. They came here to disappear. And one by one, behind these stone walls, they did. In the early 2000s, the facility finally shut down. New owners bought the property, planning to renovate it into something useful. But the moment construction began, the workers started talking. Shadow figures drifting through hallways in broad daylight, footsteps echoing through rooms that had been empty for years, doors slamming shut on their own hard, as if someone on the other side was furious. And then one afternoon, a contractor turned a corner and saw it, a full-bodied apparition, standing in the middle of the corridor, staring directly at him. He quit that day. The owners moved out shortly after. The building sat empty, and the stories kept people away, but not Eric McGill. Eric is a paranormal investigator with over 100 cases behind him. He doesn't rattle easily. He's walked through places most people wouldn't enter in daylight, let alone at night. And for him, a building like this, soaked in over a century of suffering and death, wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. The reason hospitals are haunted, Eric says, is because of what happens inside them. The sadness, the fear, those final moments of a person's life. That energy doesn't just vanish. It gets trapped in the walls, and it waits. He brought a full team for this one. Sean Gilmore handled the equipment. Amber Wellman was the sensitive someone who doesn't just detect spirits, but physically feels them. Headaches, nausea, sudden waves of emotion that don't belong to her. And Tom Jaworski, the evidence specialist, had already spent weeks digging into the asylum's history. What he found didn't sit well with him. The patients didn't get the care they deserved. Tom said quietly, they were ignored, mistreated. It seemed like nobody cared whether they lived or died. That was the world these people lived in, and the team was about to find out whether they ever truly left it. They started the investigation the way they always do, setting up stationary cameras throughout the building, floor by floor, covering as many angles as possible. The place was massive, dark, and falling apart. Every step kicked up dust. Every room felt like it was holding its breath. And within minutes of the cameras going live, something responded. It was an EVP electronic voice phenomenon, a voice captured on audio that no one in the room heard at the time. A woman. Her words were clear, deliberate, and seemed to be reacting to something the investigators had just said. She wanted someone to stop. Stop what? They didn't know, but she wasn't finished. Moments later, on the second floor, a second voice appeared on the recording. Another woman, but this time, she wasn't speaking. She was screaming, a single word, distant and distorted, echoing as if it were coming from deep inside the building. Help. Eric listened to it 3 times before he said anything. It was a desperate cry, like she was in agony and needed anyone to hear her. Help! The team believed it was residual activity, not a spirit trying to communicate with them in real time, but an echo, a moment of suffering so intense that it imprinted itself on the building, playing on a loop like a recording that never stops. Somewhere in this asylum, perhaps decades ago, a woman cried out from her bed for a nurse who never came. That cry is still here. And no one can answer it now. But the team didn't come here to listen to echoes. They wanted contact. So they formed a spirit circle, sitting together in one of the upper rooms, holding hands in the dark, and inviting whatever lived in this building to make itself known. It didn't take long. Almost immediately, Amber felt something strange, a vibration running through her legs. Not from the building, not from sound. Something pressing against her skin from the inside, like a phone buzzing against her thigh, except there was nothing there. She reported it calmly. The team noted it, and then, without warning, something grabbed her left shoulder, hard. Amber gasped and pulled away. The team broke formation instantly. They searched every inch of the space around her, behind her, above her, underneath the chair. Nothing. No wire. No draft. No explanation. When something you cannot see puts its hands on you, Eric said later, that changes everything. That's when you know you're not alone. Amber steadied herself. The team reformed the circle. They shouldn't have. Within moments, something bit her. Not a brush, not a pinch, a bite, hard enough to make her scream, hard enough to leave a mark on her skin. Amber said it wasn't just the pain that shook her, it was what came with it, a flood of emotion that didn't belong to her. Anguish, desperation, as if a patient's suffering had been injected directly into her body. She was feeling someone else's pain, Eric said. Maybe a former patient, maybe something that's been trapped here, reliving the same agony, over and over. He made the call to pull back. There's always a chance you upset something in a place like this, and once you cross that line, things can turn dangerous fast. The team moved downstairs. The staircase was barely holding together. Cracked concrete, rusted railings, debris on every step. Dangerous enough in daylight, let alone in pitch darkness with equipment in hand and something following behind them. Eric, trying to cut the tension, turned to the camera as he descended. If I wind up biting it, falling down these stairs, you guys better get it on camera. Nobody laughed, but something else did respond. They didn't hear it at the time. Only later, reviewing the audio, did they find it a voice, low and gravelly, like sandpaper dragged across stone. 2 words, like me. Eric went silent when he heard the playback. Someone had fallen on that staircase. Someone had died, and they wanted him to know it could happen to him too. At the bottom of the stairs, Sean caught something in his peripheral vision movement, just inside a doorway to the left. A shadow, there and gone. He turned to Amber. Go in there, face your fear. She did. The room was dark, cold, and felt smaller than it looked. Who's in here? She called out. We'd like to talk to you. Can you tell me your name?
Who's in here? We'd like to talk to you. You tell me your name.
No.
The answer came immediately. A male voice, clear and direct, captured on the recording equipment. 1 word, no.
No.
Amber froze. Did somebody just say no? She called out to the hallway. Sean hadn't spoken. Tom hadn't spoken. Eric was 2 rooms away. The EVP confirmed it. A man's voice, firm, deliberate, and fully aware of her question. This wasn't residual. This was intelligent. Whatever was in that room heard Amber, understood her, and chose not to cooperate. She pressed further. How many spirits are here? The building seemed to hum with energy. Things were active now. They wanted to engage, but only on their terms. And then it hit her. A headache, sudden, crushing, like a vice tightening around her skull. Nausea rolled through her body in waves. Her knees buckled. Amber is a sensitive, and when a spirit's energy overwhelms her body reacts before her mind can process it. It was like something was pressing against the inside of my head, she said. Eric watched her carefully. He'd seen this before. When a sensitive reacts like that, it means the energy around them has crossed a threshold. The spirit might not be trying to hurt her, but the effect is the same. Something in that room had been toying with them all night, cat and mouse, and now it was sending a message that couldn't be misunderstood. You are not welcome here. Eric pulled the team out immediately. As they packed up the stationary cameras, rushing to break down the equipment and leave, Tom called everyone over. He'd been reviewing the footage in real time, and one clip made him stop cold. A sound, not a whisper, not a cry, but a full-throated roar. A man's voice, raw and guttural, drenched in either agony or fury, tearing through the empty corridor like something ripping itself apart from the inside. It was the loudest, most violent sound they had captured all night. Eric stared at the screen. This was not a pleasant hospital, he said. That was all he could manage. The team grabbed what they could and headed for the exit. They didn't walk. And that's when Sean saw it. Standing in the corridor between them and the door, a shadow, not a flicker, not a trick of the light. A solid, massive, dark figure, at least 6 feet tall, shaped unmistakably like a man. It stood there, motionless, blocking the path, as if it had been waiting for this exact moment. Sean's voice cracked. That scared the holy crap out of me. I saw it right there, standing right in front of us.
I saw something that was right there.
The team pushed past it. The door slammed behind them. The night air hit their faces, and for the first time in hours, they could breathe. By the time the sun came up, the evidence had been cataloged, the footage reviewed, and the conclusion was as heavy as the building itself. The spirits haunting this asylum were not random. They were not passing through. They were former patients, people who suffered in life, who were ignored, mistreated, and left to die alone, and who now remain exactly where they were abandoned, trapped in the same walls, walking the same halls, repeating the same pain. Eric sat in his car outside the building for a long time before he drove away. When we left, he said, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What it would be like to die in a place like that, alone, in pain, and to never leave. To just exist there, forever, in the dark, with no one coming for you. He paused. To think that might be what's waiting for me in the next life that terrifies me more than anything we captured on camera. The asylum still stands. The spirits still walk its halls. And every piece of evidence the team collected that night points to one inescapable truth. They are still there, still suffering, still waiting for someone to finally care. No one has gone back. If this story kept you awake tonight, subscribe. We go where no one else will. New investigations every week. Don't watch alone.